Alright everyone, hello. I have a video again. Hopefully this will be a bit less of a rant than the last one was. We're going to cover the new Battlepass vehicle, the really expensive one. I think it costs 27 Battlepass tokens. And we'll go into if it's worth it, and I'll throw some gameplay in the background and we can kind of go from there. So we'll get right into it. No big wait. First thing right off the bat, I'm going to be negative. The crew, really frustrating. I chose to not use a press account crew on this, even though I'm on my press account. So I just recruited 3 new members, and I gave them a few crew books just to get like 2.5-ish skills. You'll notice first off that there are only 3 of them, and they share responsibilities. You have a commander and a gunner, a driver and a gunner, a radio operator, and a loader. That is not super great, and I'll show you why in just 2 seconds. So if we go to the commander, the driver, and the radio operator. So you've got perk-wise a lot of stuff to choose from. Admittedly, things like snapshot aren't super useful, but you do have to deal with a pretty good split amongst what's available. It just doesn't fit with any crew you'd already have. So to get a brand new vehicle and then basically need an exclusive crew for it, not great. Really not lovely. You can see what I chose here right off the bat. I did choose to go for camo on a few of these. The main thing, though, that I really could not afford to drop was Brothers in Arms. Snapshot, like I said, it's irrelevant, but I was thinking 6 cents. It doesn't matter anymore because it's free for everyone. I would recommend maybe dropping off-road driving right away to get clutch braking instead. The traverse speed does not feel great. But anyway, crew, not great. We'll get on from that, though. No, it's not to say the whole vehicle's negative, so don't, be too worried. Oh my god, is this thing trash? It's not. We'll get into equipment now. I'm running a gun rammer, vent, and turbo. I'll show you why I wouldn't run this in the future, based on how much I've played. I've played 10 games, and you can see it's not been great. I've won a lot of them, but I had a few that just weren't good. As far as the good from this vehicle, I'll pull up here in the comparison tool. Actually, can I just throw this into this? Right. So the one on the left is like absolutely juiced out for the most part. I tried it with Bond as well, but I'll get into that when we get there. This is with our current setup, okay? So field mods as well. I opted to go for maintaining speed, the smaller aiming circle, nothing, and then I chose to get better reload for a worse accuracy, which is offset by, the modification 4. But regardless, so you can see my crew, all my setup here. This is like other Battle Pass vehicles. It has a free large repair kit that costs nothing to use. So with this setup, I'm rocking 4,300 DPM. Now, that is not as great as it seems. It's not terrible, but it's not as great as it seems, and I'll show you why. This vehicle is similar to the Kunzepanzer that has a siege mode and a DPM mode. So when you're not using DPM mode, you get worse gun depression. It's not the full 12 that's listed here. You get just generally a bit less of a flexible tank, but you get rewarded with a much faster reload. It's like, in this case, under 5 seconds, where if you switch, it's a little, I think, under 7 or just a flat 7. With this setup, we do have 2.35 aim time, 0.32 dispersion. That is in the speed DPM mode. I don't know exactly what it is in the siege mode, but I'll show you in the gameplay later. So 1450 HP. This is a tank destroyer, so don't expect a lot of HP. No vert stab, none of that stuff. Something that's interesting about this, and arguably the most interesting thing about it, is the hull armor. So you have 45 millimeters of hull armor, and that's pretty significant because it's flat and very well angled. So the benefit you have is that will get you some pretty healthy bounces through Overmatch. You could actually play this relatively aggressively. I say relatively because the second game I played, I figured, oh, I can go play the video game. I went to C1 on Serene Coast, I think. I got shot in the face by a BZ for 880 damage. Not great. But regardless, hopefully you can kind of get the picture this vehicle paints for itself, where rather flexible considering the mobility, which we'll get into right now, great DPM, and overall pretty good gun handling, along with the armor allowing you to really shove. So something that's interesting is when you're in siege mode, you still can go 20 kilometers an hour, which is not terrible when you compare that to an STRV or something, you know, kind of in that respect. When you're in speed mode, though, you can go almost 70 with the setup I have. Now, obviously, you can even boost that a little bit more if you use a Bond or Bounty Turbo as well. I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to. Another negative here that I think is really important to mention is the time it takes to switch modes. Going from siege mode to travel mode is 3 seconds. That is impressively detrimental and really frustrating to work around. So you find yourself where in the Kunstpanzer, you could take time and switch between, let's say, siege mode and travel mode to get more DPM. You really can't do that comfortably here, if at all. The time to switch just takes way too long. You really do have to decide what you want in the moment. With the build I have, we do have a lot of camo. Stationary is 50%, which is pretty substantial. It makes sense. It's very similar to the UDES 03 in profile. View range, super ass, basically. Just really not good. Nothing to write home about there at all. You're definitely more of a support vehicle. But I think overall, I'll just cover the field mods here again. That should cover the garage portion. And I think we'll be able to cut over to the gameplay any second here. Okay, so here we are on Runeberg. This is a map that is not admittedly super great for this vehicle. However, I think there are a couple scenarios where you'll kind of get an idea of what's going on. So I'm immediately going to try and go for field. We do have, again, a rather quick reload, only 5.1 seconds. As far as the mods I'm running in this video, in case you're curious, I have the Better Reticle mod, which gives you a truer, I guess, look to your reticle. And more representative, actually, is the word I'm looking for. You can kind of see the traverse there as well. You'll see it in this clip really quick before I get back to the mods. It's really not great. That 3-second mode switch takes a really long time. It doesn't seem like a lot when you're considering, let's say, you know, just raw numbers, but in practice, it can be really detrimental. Anyway, about mods, I have standard white, like color change for the reticle, and just the standard Mark of Excellence extended. Nothing too weird. But back to the vehicle. So you saw the traverse is really not great on top of the siege mode switch. Just takes so long. Now, this isn't siege mode in a traditional sense, the same way you'd see it on a Sturv. I really insist it's a lot more like a Kunstpanzer, which is the other Battle Pass tank you might be familiar with. I'm sticking here with the, I believe, siege mode. You can see the gun gets quite accurate at that range, and I decide I could probably get away with the DPM. And DPM in this mode, you can see I'm kind of fiddling with the way the gun sort of functions when you're not in that siege mode. And anyway, the point being, I decide I really want the DPM instead. In this case, don't freak out if your reticle is larger than this again, like I said before. I'm hoping we'll see some more pushes here because I will have the flat side of the enemies, and that's really where this tank shines in this case. I mentioned before, I think I actually skipped over the gun a pretty good bit. It is 268 standard on the armor piercing, on top of having a pretty nice shell velocity. I think it's like 1407 or something. Really comfy. 360 alpha. So with that reload again, and in sort of that speed / DPM mode, you are looking at over 4,000 DPM with standard equipment. You could really push that to, I think, a max of like 4560 or something with Bond equipment. Bounty, I think it's just a touch under 4,500. So I'm really hoping we'll see more of a push here, but the guy in front of me is really kind of stopping that. As you can tell, I decided, alright, it's time to push, let's see what we can do. I try to maneuver this way a little bit. I decide I really shouldn't go that way out. I might want to try and push it from the 9 line, since I really don't think I'm going to see more in City at this point, but you never know. I see that G-Sora gets lit. We still have another 2 people in field we know of, but I guess we don't decide to push. Regardless, the vehicle is, at least in my opinion, it's a good gun. I find the crew to be rather annoying. I wouldn't say go out of your way to get this. My money is still, if you want to have the most overpowered, game-breaking, busted, ridiculously unfair tank, you really can't go wrong with the Cobra. It is all of that and more. I could not possibly sell it to you more than that. It is outrageous. If you want something a little weird, if you love the Kunstpanzer, you'll probably end up really enjoying this. You can see him kind of try to fiddle with that traverse speed. We do get a nice shot in there on the G-Sor, and we're probably going to turn now to try and fight City as I see the VZ transition to field, and we might see a counter push from them here. I'm really trying to force that DPM mode, and you can kind of see that. I'm not switching out, even though you could make an argument at this range that it would arguably make sense to use the sniper mode and try to get that extra accuracy to make the shots count. But with high shot velocity on top of rather good gun handling, even considering, it works out to be quite nice. We do get a nice shot there, very, very quick acquisition, and I really want to see this push mid. I'm trying to scout the 705A, and we first see the AMX as well, and I'm thinking I might have a chance. We get one on the Conqueror instead, which is totally fine. Now, this is where I wanted to kind of mess around with the armor and try to get a rough idea. You still have to be wary about the lower plate. It's not, you know, an insignificant weak point. But if they hit the upper plate just through RNG or lack of knowledge, it actually works out pretty good. I think we're safe up to somewhere around like 100 and, I don't know, like 40 millimeter guns or higher, 135 and higher, something like that. I'm hoping that this Foch will end up shooting me, or somebody, really, I'm hoping somebody will poke out so I can farm them. I decide, alright, maybe I have to move a little bit more. I have a whole line of concealment. Remember in the garage I was talking about how good the concealment actually is. It's quite nice, and I'm not super confident anyone will be able to spot these guys, so I don't mind pushing up to try and spot them, then pull back, but as you can see, this guy's looking right at me because I am spotted. So we do get a nice bounce on the Foch. We do pen him in return as well. I turn, the Conqueror tracks me. Foch bounces me again. Conqueror keeps poking. Foch bounces me again. I keep bleeding the Conqueror. This is still a pretty nice gun, like I said. We keep that DPM up. The Conqueror is hitting my lower plate repeatedly, which is exactly why the Foch bounced, because he hit my upper plate, and the Conqueror is penning. I'm trying to get one more shot out. This DPM is really good. My shell goes a little high, and we get no damage on that last shot. I'm really trying to go for broke here at this point, but I really decide I do need to leave and not be here. But I do hope, at least from that little interaction, you can kind of get a grip on just how practical the armor is. You don't really expect it to be that way because traditionally these kind of vehicles don't have workable armor. You can make an argument for the STRV-103B, at least I would, considering how aggressive I tend to play it. I drive in like a crackhead. It's my favorite thing to do in the tank. I can't stand sitting back and sniping. It absolutely kills me. But regardless, I do hope this is illustrating a bit of what the vehicle is about, and more importantly, what it's capable of and how you will feel about it. Regardless, I think maybe get a couple more here. Nice. Again, 360 Alpha, I forgot to mention, is quite good. It's rather comfortable. But I think that overall should give you a relatively okay idea that siege mode being 3 seconds, just better yet, instead of trying to shoehorn it in, let me just give my final review of the vehicle here. So, overall positives, good gun, really interesting armor. It's kind of like a Sturv without the heat shield, Sturv 210. DPM is really, really good. Pen is great. Oh, it also gets Hesh, by the way. I think it's 120 HE pen, which is really nasty. Super good. That would probably push your DPM up to over 5k. Anyway, gun very good. Platform pretty good. The negatives being the crew is atrocious. If you want to play this, I am almost certain you are going to need to train a new crew. There's nearly no way you're going to get away without it and have a reasonable crew. So get your crew books, you know, prepare for some new recruits maybe. The other negative is bad view range. You can see just how bad this is. Obviously, you can augment that by bringing in optics or something like that to kind of get away with it. Again, a better crew will also help with that as well. But not too many negatives, not too many positives. I'd say this is not an insane vehicle. My overall rating is probably a max, maybe like a 7 out of 10, based on the 10 games I've played. This opinion may change. If you're unsure, I'm sure there are going to be a million other videos. Please go watch those as well. Worst case, come check out the stream. I'll leave the link in the pinned comment below. You can ask me there to play it, and we'll kind of see what's up. It's, you know, going to be a evolving opinion. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a very nice evening. Well, it's evening for me, but have a nice day, and I'll see you guys next time.